Yeah. So today our lecture will deal with the initialization block. Now initialization block is another place where we can initialize the variables. This is called before the constructor and has two types. It can either be static, which starts with the static keyword and then two braces, and either it can be instance, which has no name, just two brackets, and whatever code you require you can write within the braces. Now I'll just for time being write a simple statement which says and similarly I can write a statement here. Now this static initialization block is called the first time the class is loaded, and it will not be called thereafter, whereas the instance initialization block, this will be called for every object that we create. So as of now I haven't created any object within the I have no object within the main. So I'll just try to run this off and I get an output which is in the static initialization block. So this block has been called even when we haven't created any object within the main method. Now as soon as we create one object, and I'll again try to run this program, we can see the output is in the static initialization block. Now this block, it is run when we load the class init block, and this initialization block has come into picture when we have created this object. In case we create another object, we can see that the static initialization block has run only once, whereas the instance initialization block has run twice, once for each object that we have created. Now these initialization blocks, they are handy in places just as we require them in anonymous classes where we cannot have a constructor. So we can use initialization block to initialize the variables, and secondly also sometimes in case of final variables we use them to initialize the variables with values before we can use them. So there are few places where we do have the requirement of initialization block. So we'll just sum up that static initialization block, it is run the first time the class is loaded, and the instance initialization block, it is run every time you create an object. Even we can try to see some values how they are initialized within this, and then within the static initialization block I say I is equal to 10. Now I have put down I within the static initialization block and giving it a value of 10, but it is giving me an error here. The reason for this is the static initialization block, it is called even when there is no object in picture. So when there is no object in picture, we cannot have this x into picture. So initializing or giving any value to 10 has no meaning when there is no object in picture. So you cannot initialize or provide any value to the instance variable within a static block. So I'll give this a value within the instance initialization block. So this will be called when there is an object in picture. So accordingly for that object, this x will be assigned a value of 10, and I can print here and even for this also we can print the value for both shall come out to be 10. Here we can check the value for the variable has come out to be 10. Now for a static variable we can provide a value in the static block as well as we can provide it a value in the instance block, and we can see what value we are getting here. Any guesses? So we are getting 10 here. This is because static initialization block shall be called before the instance initialization block. So first x is assigned a value of 20, and then x later on when this block is called it is reassigned a value of 10. So we'll be getting a value of 10 when we print through the object. So static variable we can use within the static initialization block as well as within the instance initialization block. However, for instance variables we cannot use them within the static initialization block. We can only use them within the instance initialization block because the object has to be in picture when you need to set values to instance variables.